Greetings and welcome to Productive Discourse. Productive Discourse is a conversation where we talk about the positive activities that are happening within our communities. In other words, we're looking for that shiny needle of common ground in that haystack of fear. Today, we're continuing our celebration of the summer, particularly talking about Alameda Park League Baseball, the T-shirt league that took place between the 1950s and the 1990s throughout Alameda. Our special guest today is a Park League alum, Ratto, who took many roles in the Alameda Recreation and Park Department and then took his passion for sports into the media. Ray is currently part of an afternoon talk show, Damon, Ratto, and Kolsky on 95.7 The Game in San Francisco. Ray, welcome to Productive Discourse.
Hello there, and I'll just throw this in. I'm also working for a website called Defector.
Okay, terrific. I will put that in the show notes, and I'd be pleased if everybody in our audience goes and checks it out. But thank you for coming today. And first, I ask everybody how you're doing. It's been a weird couple of years. I know it changed the way you did business in the media. How are you doing? What are you doing to stay sane and healthy during the pandemic?
Well, I've never been sane.
Okay.
I have been healthy. We've been pretty lucky. And really, other than a lot more time in the house, we haven't been nearly as impacted as a lot of people have. So we've been fortunate.
Yeah, we've been very fortunate. Also, I've gotten to do a few new things like this. And I'm also grateful for being fortunate with everything going on. As far as Park League goes, when you were growing up, what was your home park and what kind of experiences do you have playing ball?
Home park was Krusi. We lived on Post Street, which was basically a block and a half away. So every day during the summer, my mom would point to the front door at 9 a.m. and say, "Be home for dinner." And that was pretty much it. I went to the park and you hung out all day. Played ball under Jim Tavernier. I think I went, I want to say 3rd through 6th grades, because I was also playing CYO ball at the time. But the experiences were all good. You're playing pepper against the fence, against by diamond number 2, which was the closest one to the office. And we went through 8 hours like that every day.
It was a great way to live. We had our teammates and the kids we hung out with at our home park, but we also went around town when we'd have the game. Each park had a team. Who were the top athletes when you were playing, that you heard about before the game came up?
John Tudall, I think he played out of Lincoln. Bill Heath, Jerry Carr, Greg Dunn. He was older than me, but it was basically the same names that you heard when you started to talk about Alameda High, because that was basically where most of the kids went, if they had baseball aspirations. And but those are the ones that stick out. But there were a ton of them, that could play ball pretty decently and had a good time. It was not a feeder to the pros, but we killed a summer or two.
Yeah, it's interesting because it wasn't designed to be a feeder to the pros, but we did have some guys that made it. When Chris Spire, Willie Scargill, more recently Dontrell Willis and Jimmy Rollins. It's also interesting that not everybody was going to be a major league athlete, but people like you kept your passion for sports and you were able to have a career involved with sports.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I think the best thing about the Park League and the parks in general was that it was at a time where there was basically no adult supervision. So you could basically do what you wanted and, fire your imagination. And I mean, I get why, that doesn't happen anymore, but there was something about learning how to sort of deal with other people, socialize yourself. It was the unstructured part of education. And that's the thing I took away from it more than anything else. It's that every day, we'd play games, we'd have arguments, we'd figure them out, and we'd move back to the game. So it was a great way to figure out how to deal with other people. And that's the thing I took away from it, is just, I can never remember going home from the park mad, except for the one time when my cousin Bob steered me into the iron ping pong table when we were having bike races around the office.
How many times did one of you get kicked out of the park for riding your bikes?
Never.
Never. Okay.
They would give you the, hey, don't do that. But it was more, don't do that when there were like adults around that could get, or kids around. It was sort of a use your common sense thing. But I don't remember anybody ever getting kicked out. I remember people getting yelled at, but getting yelled at was part of being a kid.
It's interesting what you said about getting along, and there's a lot to be said for negotiating, learning how to settle disputes when you're a kid, and having the common sense on knowing when to take a chance, whether it's riding your bike or something like that.
Yeah, I guess the rule of thumb was don't be an idiot.
Right.
And while we all came close from time to time, we never never got the official entry card that said, yes, you are an idiot.
Okay. That words to live by. Now, you played for Krusi. You hung out at Krusi, but then you took on some roles at the park or with the park department.
Actually, I need to stop here because I think you might be confusing me with my cousin Bob. I never worked at the park department.
Okay, I remember you're a couple years ahead of me, and we would have games, and I thought you'd come around with some of the leaders in the park department.
Not that I know. Steve Ratto did. There were a lot of people, a lot of Rattos, no question. But I never did that. So I don't. Okay. I don't want to take credit for criminality that I did not participate in.
Okay. That's actually another podcast, all the Rattos that have done things in elementary too. So that'll be another episode on that.
It'll be the last episode, let me assure you.
Okay. So the program focused on youth sports, and we went there to play ball. We talked a little bit about settling disputes and things like that, but it was quite a leadership program for the park directors and for just the kids themselves. Can you talk a little bit about leadership skills that came out of the park leagues?
I think, in terms of leadership, I don't remember, a lot of people saying, this is my path to something. It was sort of more, you'd get leaders like within interpersonal groups, if we were, playing man on or something. And, there'd always be somebody who would organize the game. And depending on who was at the park at the time, it would be somebody different. But I remember it being more informal than that. There was no sort of hierarchy. There was the park director, there was the second park director, and then there was this sea of barely washed children running around. And so in terms of leadership, I remember it being more, for lack of a better word, collegial, where you just figured it out and nobody would sort of say, okay, I'm in charge here, because that would have been a mood killer, I think, in a lot of ways. I don't know how it worked at other parks, but at Krusi, anything that was organized, if it wasn't organized by Jim or Cookie Thomas, it wasn't organized. It was just, let's go do something. And then we'd go in and we'd check out a bat or a bat and a ball or whatever and do that, a ping pong set to play in the back room. And that was the best part about it. It was really informal. Nobody got to be the boss, and everybody got to learn how to get along because there weren't any rivalries about who's in charge and who's going to do what. I thought that was the best thing.
That was a theme I've heard from all the parks, that if you had 5 guys or if you had 5 kids, you would play a game that would involve 5 people. If one of them had to go home, that game could be adjusted to involve 4 people. But whatever it was, you came up with rules, people agreed on the rules, and you, like you said, you were able to kill an afternoon and have a great time.
Yeah, I mean, that was the thing about it, was because it was unstructured, you were left to your own devices. And while that may scare the hell out of parents now, it can get done. You can actually, put kids in a room and have them figure it out. It's not only not unheard of, it's probably healthy. Like my kids, by the time my kids were grown or were born, we didn't do Park League nearly as much. It was more structured. It was more sports through the school, and and it was adult run. And while there were benefits to that, if you didn't happen to get a good coach or someone who understood what the real value of playing sports was, you kind of got hosed. So in some ways, I mean, I don't know of anybody who had a bad park director. Let's put it that way. So nobody ever, to my knowledge, ever felt like they got cheated. Now, I can't speak for everybody. And the one thing I do remember about sort of the park system was that it was pretty much boy-centric. I don't know what the girls did, while we were goofing off at the park, but I don't remember seeing very many. And that was probably something that I guess got fixed later, if it got fixed at all. But for the most part, it was, you're on your own. Don't make us get an ambulance. And that was one of the rules.
As long as there are no ambulances, it's okay.
Yeah.
Now, you talked about Bob steering you into the table. Are there any other good stories? Either a great moment you had or a great memory you had from the Alameda Recreation Park?
A memory that always sticks out to me was a day when we were playing baseball team from Oakland. It was just sort of a pickup, not a pickup game. It was organized, but it was a chance for them to play in Alameda and us to, play people outside our experience. And we got routed. And at one point, John Grachowski said, "Here, you pitch," because he'd gone through almost every other kid. And I threw a hellacious sidearm strike with my first pitch, and the second one got hit to Europe. And I said, well, that's one more career down the toilet, that's one that just sticks out at me, because it was, wow, I'm pitching. I never thought I'd be a pitcher. And then that's why you're not a pitcher. The transition was pretty quick, but it stuck with me. That's the one I think I remember the most. The rest of them were all kind of a blur, because I don't think any of us were busy making memories then. We were just having fun. And so there was nothing about any of the things we did that we knew we couldn't recreate the next day. So at least for me, nothing really grafted, because the days, while they were full of stuff, they were sort of the same day over and over again, which was going there, find out who's coming to the park, play for a while. Then we'd all take our bikes down to Inchinell Market or Young's and, get a Coke and a Boston cream pie or whatever else Hostess was, whatever other processed sugar we could get for a quarter, and then go back to the park and play till 5:30. I mean, it was just, there was a routine to it, but there was very little structure within the routine.
Sounds good. So what's next for you? Are there any events that you haven't covered yet, or anything you'd like to cover as you move on?
I am at a significantly advanced age that I've seen pretty much everything I want to. I've done an Olympics, I've done a World Cup, I've done the World Series, done the Stanley Cup final. I mean, just it's, maybe a World Cup overseas. But I mean, at this point, I'm pretty satisfied with what I've done. So I'm not really chasing anything. Plus, I'm damn near into retirement. So the less time I can spend in an airport, the better.
Yeah, right. Especially in this day and age.
Well, yeah, even before then, airports sucked. Airplanes were fine, but airports sucked.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. I appreciate you joining me today.
Not a problem. It was fun.
It's been.
Oh, but I will say one other thing. Yeah. I always hated the fact that the Krusi shirts were always black. We never got any other color in the time I was there.
I was right
by this.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Someone has to pay.
All right. Now I got this one, my virtual background. I got this one from Steve Sorensen. And somehow or another, he got this, is it light brown or khaki color or something like that? But I think that was from...
ours was never that fancy.
Yeah, never that fancy. Well, did you cut off the sleeves?
1 year. That was the year we all wanted to look like the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Yeah, they had the best, the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Cincinnati Reds.
Yeah. I did that 1 year. The rest of the time I kept them on because I was too lazy.
All right. Well, anyway, I appreciate you being on the show. And I appreciate everybody that took the time to watch and listen. This has been a labor of love for us to do these shows. And we have one more. I hope you come back next week where we continue the conversation on Alameda Park League Baseball. If you'd like to know more about what we do, please go to productivediscourse.home.blog. That talks about what we do. And it also talks about how you can contact me if you'd like me to speak at your service club, community organization, or religious group. We'll be back next week, but in the meantime, please like, share, comment, and subscribe so this message can go far and wide, and we'll find that shiny needle of common ground in that haystack of fear.